As we all know, Canada continues to deal with a shortage of doctors, and we have long wait times in hospitals. A little too long, some say. And some believe that hiring more physician assistants may be a solution to the problem. To talk more about this is Kirsten Luomala, Provincial Director for Alberta with the Canadian Association of Physician Assistants. Kirsten, welcome to BCN.
Thank you.
I'm not sure that many Canadians are even aware that we have physician assistants in our country. How would you best describe a physician assistant?
That's an excellent question. And I actually come across that statement on a daily basis of people not knowing who I am or what we do. The best way to describe us is we are physician extenders. We are the extension of our doctors. We help increase their ability to practice and be in more places than they physically can humanly be in. And so we work under their license. We do delegated tasks. We're a delegated profession, but we do a lot of what the doctors do. I take histories, I do physical exams, I see consults, we interpretate lab tests, diagnostic imagings, and I also assist in surgery.
So what kind of training and education goes into becoming a physician assistant?
Well, we have 3 schools in Canada outside of the Canadian Forces, and all 4 of those schools are to be a 2-year program after you've done an undergraduate degree. So most of our PAs have a minimum of 6 years of training by the time they're done. So 4 years of an undergraduate and then a 2-year PA program, which is a 1-year classroom and then a 1-year clerkship year.
So what sorts of things would you not be allowed to do as a PA?
Well, we have a defined scope of practice, and our scope of practice depends on the environment that we're working on. For example, I work in the Department of Neurosurgery. So I'm not going to go and do what general surgery does because my surgeons don't do general surgery. So I wouldn't be putting a chest tube in, but I would be assisting in the operating room. I would be doing things like I do external ventricular drains, lumbar drains. I take out a lot of drains, but I wouldn't be doing an exploratory laparotomy, which is what a general surgeon would do. So it's really defined by what my surgeon does.
So outside of the hospital then, Kirsten, where else would we find physician assistants working?
Well, in Alberta, we actually work in a variety of different specialties. We work in family medicine clinics. Bassano, Milk River, down by you, each have a physician assistant. We do have some that work in geriatrics. I believe there's a couple in Lethbridge area. We have stroke rehabilitation. We have occupational health PAs, dermatology, plastic surgery, as well as a lot of the in-hospital facilities.
Kirsten, there's been some talk of expanding your role. Some say this could make our healthcare system more efficient and cost-effective. What are your thoughts?
Well, we know that we could free up our physicians' time, and there have been research studies that have been shown that we increase the ability to free up beds quickly in a hospital. Discharges post-surgery, we can get them done in a much faster fashion just because we're available to do that. We've seen, for example, stroke rehabilitation in Calgary. We've seen wait times for their initial appointment go from 18 to 24 weeks to wait to see the physician to less than 6 with a PA added to it. So expanding our role, having more PAs, definitely is going to increase the access to healthcare for our population of Alberta.
So where else specifically would you want to see the role of the PA expanded?
I think for rural family medicine, for sure. I mean, we've seen the reports of various facilities across the country. In Nova Scotia, for example, there's a lack of family doctors. Emerges are closing, and people are having to travel upwards of 3 hours to get emergency care. We've recently seen hospitals, even emergency departments, even in Alberta, that have had to close, and patients are having to travel, 30 minutes to get to health care that was available before. So certainly rural medicine, but in the hospitals, in our family medicine clinics, even in the urban centers, where we're freeing up at least 25% of our supervising physicians' time, where they can spend more time with those more complex patients who need their help.
How about helping seniors as well, and maybe some seniors' homes or seniors' long-term care facilities? Now, Would the role of the PA help keep seniors living in their own homes maybe a little bit longer?
Absolutely. I mean, if you've got a family doctor who is willing to let their PA do home care visits, that certainly is a way. And we all want to keep our parents in their home longer. So why not? I think we're open to anything. And certainly, if we look to our American counterparts, they're utilizing PAs way more than we are.
So which provinces are currently offering licensing training and certification of PAs?
So currently, there's only three programs in Canada, two of which are in Ontario, so the University of Toronto and McMaster University, as well as the Manitoba University of Manitoba has a PA program. However, we are being employed in four provinces currently in Canada outside of the Canadian Armed Forces. Manitoba and New Brunswick are both regulated PAs that they've hired, as well as Alberta is in the final stages of our regulation, and we have approximately 50 here in Alberta. And then Ontario has the bulk of the PAs.
So Kirsten, why are provinces kind of dragging their feet on this a little bit?
I really don't know what the answer is to that. We've been around in our country in Canada for over 30 years through the Canadian Armed Forces. We've only been in the civilian sector now for 20 years, and it's been a very slow process. But every province is individual in their healthcare, and we need the other provinces to start looking at changing their health acts to allow PAs to further work.
Has Ottawa shown any indication to increase funding for physician assistants?
It's an interesting question because I think there's a misconception that that the federal government has oversight on this. It's actually provincially regulated, and so we need the provincial health acts to say yes, we would like PAs in this particular province, and Manitoba took the lead on that. Ontario was next, then New Brunswick, and now Alberta. And so we are needing the provinces to change their health acts to be able to help us better work in those provinces.
So maybe we can make our way up the ladder, up the chain, have the provinces put pressure on Ottawa to maybe help fund us at the same time, and then give some more money towards the PAs. Now, I understand that your profession is closely related to nurse practitioners. What's the difference then between their role and yours as a PA?
Well, we're trained under different models. So anybody can become a PA that's got some healthcare background, including nurses. And we do see a lot of nurses who decide to become PAs. But we're trained under a medical model that mirrors our doctors and their residents very closely, whereas the nursings are trained under a nursing model. But there's room for both. And, we value our nurse practitioners just as much.
Are they facing a lot of the same challenges? Are all provinces providing training and licensing opportunities?
I can't speak to the training of the nurse practitioners and what provinces offer their programs, but certainly nurse practitioners are employed in all provinces. They are licensed in all provinces, but they also face some hurdles and restrictions also, depending on what the provincial regulations are allowing them to do.
Now, one of the Canadian medical journals recently had an article that said there may be some tension and resistance coming from the doctors. Apparently, some of them are not keen on seeing PAs and N.P.S expanding their roles and becoming more independent. Some say it may even turn into a bit of a turf war if it hasn't already. What are your thoughts?
I don't believe that there's a turf war. I think it's a lack of understanding what both professions bring to the table. I've been a PA for 10 years, and I've been a PA for 5 years here at the University of Alberta Hospital. Initially there was a lot of questions as to what we are and what we do, but I don't have that as much from my professional colleagues as I did in the very beginning. And so the understanding is coming very quickly, and they're seeing the benefits.
Now, is there anything your organization is planning on doing to help get the ball rolling on expanding your roles? And maybe is there anything our viewers can do to help?
Well, currently, right now in Alberta specifically, we are finalizing our regulation, which will allow us to be able to be utilized in a much more efficient manner. And so, there's always, if your viewers have had a PA look after them, or they've had exposure to a PA, speaking to their MLAs, giving some anecdotal evidence as to how they felt their experience will certainly be beneficial, especially with an election coming up. It would be nice to have regulation finalized soon.
So Kirsten, you've been a PA for a while now. Tell me about some of the early challenges when you first became a physician assistant compared to today?
I think it's the lack of knowing what our job entails and utilizing us to our fullest. Some of the biggest challenges is in Alberta is our regulation. The Nursing Association has indicated to the nurses that they are to not take a lot of orders from an unregulated profession. We fully support that stance. We think regulation is a very, very good thing for all professions to have. And so, that has really been one of our biggest challenges. Once people have dealt with PAs, the reception has been very warm.
Now, we've got the big provincial election coming up on or before May 31st. Have you talked to some members of the UCP or the NDP saying, hey, you'll have my support if you help fund us a little bit more?
Um, we've not approached the UPC at all at this point in time. The NDP currently has worked quite hard in getting our regulation and getting us added to the Health Act during their tenure. And so we are working quite closely with the NDP to try and get regulation finalized. Funding is a different issue. We haven't really pushed the funding issue at this point in time because regulation has been our main focus.
So lastly, let me ask you something, Kirsten. What would you say are the biggest rewards for you as a physician assistant here in Alberta?
Get a little emotional, sorry. The cards that I get from my patients, thanking me for being able to spend quality time with them. Neurosurgery, we get some of the worst cases. We get the horrible, horrible Gord Downey tumors. We get the horrible traumas. And being able to help the families through that extremely rewarding. I love my job.
Well, that's beautiful to hear. Kirsten Luomala, Provincial Director for Alberta with the Canadian Association of Physician Assistants. Thanks a lot for joining me today from Edmonton.
Thank you very much for having me.
On behalf of all of us here at BCN, I'm Hal Roberts. God bless and have a great night.